One key to selling electric vehicles in a market dominated by monthly payments is selling on total cost of ownership. Most people believe that EVs are much more expensive than a gasoline-powered vehicle. The window sticker just reinforces that belief because the MPGE concept is unfamiliar. When most people buy a car, they only consider the monthly payment of their loan. If they take fuel efficiency into account at all, it is just comparing miles per gallon between two gas-powered vehicles, because that's what the average consumer understands. To sell EVs successfully, we must open their eyes to the bigger picture. Electric motors are much more efficient than gasoline engines. Electricity is a much less expensive energy source than gasoline. And maintenance of EVs is much less expensive. There isn't oil or oil filters, a transmission fluid, or filters to change in an EV. Usually maintenance is just rotating the wheels occasionally and changing the cabin air filter. These factors need to be considered because maintenance and fuel costs are a huge part of the total monthly cost of owning any traditional vehicle. Consumers lose sight of this, especially when gasoline is cheap, as it is now. Once they take total cost of ownership into account, your job selling becomes much easier. Here is a selling tool I use. It's a spreadsheet that you can fill out right in front of your client. You can do it on a desktop computer or on a tablet. Much of the data comes directly from the window stickers or from your customer. The inputs you will need to make are the yellow cells in the spreadsheet, but you may enter more information to hammer the point home. There are 5 sections in which you enter data: EV information, gasoline-powered vehicle information, financing information, your customer's driving habits, and fuel cost information. Below that are the 2 results sections we'll discuss later. Let's start with the electric vehicle information. MSRP is shown in a white cell, so you don't have to enter it, but I suggest you do for impact. The MSRP shown here is right off the window sticker of a Bolt EV. Once a price is negotiated and any dealer ads like window tint are accounted for, you can enter the drive-out price for the EV. The EPA estimated driving range of the vehicle and the kilowatt hours per 100 miles come directly from the EPA section of the window sticker. This is used to calculate the average number of miles that can be driven per kilowatt hour of electricity, shown in the green output cell here. Think of this as the miles per gallon shown on a gasoline car's window sticker. Plug-in vehicles, both EVs and plug-in hybrids, generally receive a federal income tax credit from the government, which ranges from $7,500 to $3,500 when a vehicle is first introduced. This amount is based on battery pack size and gets reduced over time as a manufacturer sells more and more plug-in vehicles. For example, Tesla Motors and General Motors, at the time this video was created, received $1,875 in income tax credits for buyers of those vehicles because those manufacturers have already sold more than 200,000 plug-in vehicles. Check my video on the income tax credit for more detailed information on that subject. Some states offer incentives in addition to the federal incentive. In Texas, there is a $2,500 rebate available to people who buy or lease a plug-in vehicle. The next section has to do with the gasoline-powered vehicle. This spreadsheet even allows you to consider a customer's current gas vehicle's payment to show if they're going to reduce or increase their monthly expenditures if they buy an EV. More on that later. The MSRP shown here is for a Chevy Trax gasoline-powered small crossover. It's similar in size and function to the Bolt EV we are evaluating. Below that is the Trax drive-out price. Here is the EPA estimated average miles per gallon of the Trax. Next, we select the fuel type, R for regular gas, P for premium gas, and D for diesel. If you enter anything other than one of these 3 letters, notice that the annual gasoline cost becomes $9,999.99 and its field turns red. This is just to tell you that you've made an error. The Trax uses regular gasoline, so we'll enter R. Next, we'll consider oil changes. Ask your customer what they usually spend for an oil and filter change and how many times they change oil per year. The next section has to do with financing. You can enter the customer's down payment, if any, the interest rate for the loan, or a reasonable estimate, and the number of months for the loan. For the interest rate, just enter a number, not the percent sign. These inputs will be used for both the EV and gasoline-powered vehicles being considered, so we have a level playing field. Once these loan parameters are entered, we will have monthly payment information on the EV and the gas vehicle in the results section, which we'll discuss shortly. The next section is about your customer's driving habits. It doesn't make any sense to do this analysis unless we know how many miles your client will drive. The more miles they drive, the better the advantage the EV will have over the gasoline-powered vehicle. Your customer may not know how many miles they drive per year, but this section will help with that. Put in an estimate of annual miles driven. Let's try 10,000 miles per year. Then ask your customer the distance round trip for their daily commute. Most people are keenly aware of this. Once you enter those two values, 5 days of driving per week are subtracted from the annual mileage to arrive at how much they drive per weekend. If this number is less than 0, the weekend miles field will turn red, indicating that the annual mileage estimate is too low. You can increase the annual mileage estimate until this field turns back to green and ask your customer if the number calculated for weekend miles is about how many miles they drive per weekend. If it's too low, increase annual mileage. If too high, decrease it. Don't edit the green field, it's for output only. The next section is fuel cost. You'll enter what the customer pays for electricity per kilowatt hour. If the customer does not know their kilowatt per hour cost, estimate 9.2 cents per kilowatt hour, which is pretty easy to get in Texas. If the customer says they're paying less than that, they're probably not including the electricity transport fee or taxes, so ask them to check their electric bill and divide total amount of the bill by total kilowatt hours used. That is their true cost in electricity per kilowatt hour. Also mention to them that if they don't live in an area serviced by a co-op in Texas, they can shop for cheaper electricity on powertochoose.org. They'll love you for that little tidbit. Below that are fields for regular and premium gasoline as well as diesel. You can grab these values off the signage of a nearby gas station. You only need to change the value for the type of fuel used by the car they're considering. Now for the results. The monthly payment for the loans for both vehicles are calculated and displayed here. In this case, the Bolt EV's payment, due to its much higher price, is over $150 per month higher than the Trax. And if that was the only data your client saw, they might choose the Trax. But that's not the whole story here. Once you add the cost of electricity and gasoline and the monthly cost of oil changes, the difference in the total cost of ownership is only $4.51 per month. That's because of how much cheaper it is to fuel and maintain an electric vehicle. By the way, if the EV has a lower monthly cost of ownership than the gasoline-powered vehicle, the difference field here will be green instead of red. But what about after the loan is paid off? That's where an EV really shines. The next section shows this. In the case of the two vehicles we're comparing, the EV costs about $32 per month to fuel and maintain. But the gasoline car costs $121 per month. So every month they drive an EV, they are saving $89 per month compared to driving a gasoline car. That's over $1,000 a year in savings. Make sure you show them this. Finally, what if your client is not considering a new gas car and only wants to see how much the EV will raise or lower their current monthly expenditures compared to their gas car? In the current vehicle monthly payment field, enter 0 if their vehicle is paid off, or their current monthly payment if they're still paying for the vehicle. Just remember, after your presentation is over, to delete the contents of this field to go back to comparing a new EV versus a new gasoline-powered car for your next customer. I used a spreadsheet similar to this one back in 2012 when I was first considering a plug-in vehicle. I wasn't in car sales back then, and my salesperson could not guide me at all. That spreadsheet convinced me to take the plunge And this spreadsheet will help ease your customers' doubts and make selling much easier. Enjoy success using this tool to sell electric vehicles.